Hey honey bunches, how are you? I am on for a chat. It is currently Saturday and it's the last Saturday before I go back on Monday to uni. I've had my mid-semester break. If you saw the last video, I went for a little couple of nights away in Castlemaine, which is a country town, about an hour and a half train ride, which is what we did out of Melbourne, Australia is where I am if you're clicking on this. Out of nowhere. It was a really nice change of scene. I read the Vagina Monologues, would highly recommend, and I also listened to the audiobook of the Testaments. So many things. Number one, reading those two things together is like quite an odd pairing, or quite a fitting pairing, both discussing topics of women's bodies being exploited and abused. Female trauma. So yeah, if you happen to have those two books and feel inspired to read them, it is kind of interesting reading them at the same time. But the Testaments, ooh, jump to this number if you're not interested in hearing my thoughts. I really liked it. I would just say that it's 3 narrators and it jumps between, not a set amount of time for each, but just jumping between each narrator. And so I think personally it took me like 3 times as long to get into the book, but once you get to like a third of the way through, I was definitely like hooked page turner in the audiobook form. The ending was a bit, I don't know if it's all as it seems, all as rosy as it seems, but I loved how it all came together and you just got so much more information about Gilead, because it wasn't, as if you've heard people talking about it, it's not like you're not just in June's head as and only have June's perspective and amount of information that she knows as a handmaid, as was the case in The Handmaid's Tale. But I listened to it for free because I've become a full-on Audible convert, or an audiobook convert. It wasn't from someone in a video spruiking it, and as I would think is pretty obvious, but to say it just to be sure, this is not sponsored by them, obviously, or not obviously, but it's not. It's a genuine opinion, passion, and it was actually Stephen Fry. I was listening to an interview with him and he was talking about something he's recently done, or a practice he's recently picked up, which is going for super long walks and just like churning through books in audiobook form, and walking obviously being a great thing physically and mentally, but having a story in your ears just makes you want to keep walking. I'll insert the clip because he explains it better.
I tell you a thing that has really transformed my health as much as anything, both mental and physical health, is the audiobook.
Yes.
And the podcast. Not necessarily just listening to them, but the fact that they make walking so easy. You know, I used to go.
Is that how you've lost?
That's
so
how I
much
lost weight.
Thank you. Yes,
it is. I mean, I walk.
Because you look fabulous.
Yeah, I average about 7 miles every morning, a 7-mile walk.
Wow.
When I'm at home, and so it's a lovely walk. But if you've got a story, you know,
yes.
and it can be Agatha Christie or James Bond, or it could be Dostoevsky and, you know, F. Scott Fitzgerald. It's not a question of how literary it is. It's just something that you think, oh, I haven't read this, or I haven't read it since I was young, or I've always wanted to read this, and you pop it in, and the best actors in the world, Miriam Margolyes, Ian McKellen, I mean, you know, all these people are doing audiobooks, and
yes.
so
Harry
you get,
Potter,
there's a good guy who does Harry Potter, I believe, and so you eat the miles up.
Yes.
That's basically, you're just lost in this fabulous world of storytelling. So that's that, and podcasts too. There's some terrific podcasts on all kinds of subjects that can be interesting.
So you're keeping the mind.
Keeps the mind going.
But
and I
you're
find
relaxing.
it's obviously good for the body, and also I just find it's good for the mood.
Yes.
I don't know why, and I'm not suggesting it's a cure for you know, mood disorders and bipolar and various things like that. But as someone who does suffer from that, I have found that, you know,
it lifts.
It does.
The mood,
it does lift the mood. Yeah.
So I've listened to the Testaments and I'm currently listening to Annabelle Crabb's quarterly essay, I think it's called, about the double standard. Is it called Men at Work? Bugger, I can't remember. But quarterly essay about the double standard of women having babies while working and not being a thing for men. An example being Jacinda Ardern having a baby while being Prime Minister. All the furor or hoo-ha about that, and you know, any number of male politicians having young children while they're in significant leadership positions, people not batting an eyelid to that. Annabelle Crabb is an Australian political journalist, but she also cooks. She kind of looks like me. One of you said one of you said you thought she was my mum. She's not. And she has much thicker hair than I do. But my parents have met her. She's quite a lovely gem. But I would recommend that. That's also free on Audible. But yeah, I'm ready to churn through all the books I've been meaning to read, but just don't necessarily have the eye time, but I have the ear time. That was horrible. But yeah, this is a rambly video, a bit of a catch-up, I guess. I just wanted to say a few things that I didn't really pick up the camera and mention during the previous vlog while I was away, because I didn't really feel like talking to the camera. Yeah. So the trip away to Castlemaine was good. I was a bit stressed, just because I finished uni soon and so I couldn't really switch off, but I read a lot. The place we stayed in was really nice, although I had a crappy pillow that was super soft and really high, so I didn't sleep that well. And the Airbnb host was a bit, not my fave, a bit casually sexist. But they had a nice dog. She wasn't sexist, so yeah. And I didn't really find as much vintage stuff as I perhaps alluded to that I would. Well, because we weren't driving, we had taken the train. If I was to get something beyond like can fit in a bag, it would have been a bit tricky to lug around because we walked a lot, like 10k plus a day. But I did get some vintage postcards at an op shop that the lady gave to me for $2 in total, even though they were all priced as $1. I don't think she could have been bothered doing the maths, but if you're like, what's the relevance of that? I write a little thank you note in all the Etsy orders for my, what am I doing? For my cookbooks and postcard sets and stuff. So yeah, if you order something soon, you might experience one of them. Speaking of my HBOT shop, which is my Etsy shop, I have made 2 new order listings recently, and they are for both the digital version of the cookbooks and the hard copies. You can buy them together, both my cookbooks, and it's a bit cheaper. Yeah, you can buy them together at a bit of a discount. So if you go on the HBOT shop, just add that listing to your cart. Don't add each cookbook together. You can and give it a bit of extra dosh, but you don't have to. And then I guess speaking of cookbooks, I have decided to do another cookbook. I finish uni in 3 weeks of my undergraduate. Yeah. And I would just like a project that I could do until the end of the year. Sort of hone the process now, having done 2, so I'm planning on doing ones with a brainstorm like a pro. Really good, practical, super helpful, straightforward recipes that I think you'll like the style of it. Anyway, I've cooked 3 this week, so I'm off and away. Sorry if you're like, oh for goodness sake, she's doing another one, but let's be real, I don't make much money from these, so it's really just a passion project, so if you're rolling your eyes, you can take them elsewhere. And then my other thing that I was gonna mention is, for a long time, like all of this year, I've been really kind of wanting to make a podcast, but I don't want to just make it available to anyone. So that leaves me with Patreon. Another eye roll might just have happened. Fair enough. I personally really love Patreon and the people I subscribe to, is that what we call it? Since it's like the price of a coffee a month and you generally get extra videos or podcasts or updates, and it's more of a personal, honest, really supportive space. And I guess me being a sensitive soul, having got some interesting comments in the recent year, it just makes me want to, like, if I was to have a podcast, have it in a sort of space that was a bit more, we've got each other's back, we're not just putting each other down or offering our opinions on how you look or things that you just don't need to comment on, really. I did a bit of a Freudian slip in a recent video. I said pastry on instead of Patreon, so I could bag that name before someone else does, although gluten-free pastry isn't the best. But it's still a food-related thing, so I don't know. I guess what I would do with it is post more chill vlogs there, rambly videos, updatey type things maybe, but mainly like podcasts. Maybe like once every 2 weeks or something, because I would love to talk about things like mental health and gender expectations and introversion and how gendered cooking is. Things which to some people might sound like they couldn't be more boring, but even when I say it now, I'm like, this is crap. This is a stupid idea. Because I guess I don't really have anything to offer. Like, I'm not an artist. I could make HBOT journals for it, or other sort of food related Etsy shop like I've done type of things. But yeah, I recognise, like, I'm not an artist. I'm not offering anything too significant or precious. And even when I'm saying it now, like, it does sound kind of narcissistic, since I'm not any of those things. If you've persisted this long into the vid, cheers. And there's something about this time in my cycle that I feel really chatty, so hence when I feel super emotional, I feel really chatty, because I guess I'm really thinking about things, and so you get some extra pimple, PMSy symptoms with this video too. My next book is Call Me By Your Name. Quite excited to read that. In Castlemaine we had a lot of really fresh, really good Thai and Vietnamese food. I'm pretty sure these places like made their own tofu, and I had these superb rice paper rolls with marinated sweet potato in them. So good. They didn't really say anything other than marinated sweet potato on the menu, so I don't know what they were marinated in, but I'm gonna try and recreate them because it creates a really super good wholesome-y flavour kick, but this makes them a bit more like substantial. Really, really good. Another thing I want to make is mochi, and there's a supermarket near my uni where I can buy sweet rice flour and azuki beans. I'm hopefully thinking that should be the case, so maybe in an upcoming video you shall see me sample those bad boys, bad blobs. But yeah, for the podcast thing I need to get a proper mic, because I recognise that just using the mic on a camera, or the mic that I like hold in the But Vegan videos and I'm doing a voiceover, it's not the best. And I think to listen to something beyond like 10 minutes you'd want something that's a bit more crisp. But to expand on the Patreon thing, like, I've done this for 4 years now, and I've really like given a lot of content, you know. I really worked hard, and I'm not expecting any sort of monetary payment for this really going forward either, but and I do make a little bit from the HBOT shop, my Etsy cookbook orders. I never monetize my videos. If there's an ad playing on it, it is the music that I use, because it's always copyrighted, as it should be. So YouTube puts an ad on that and gives it to the people who own the music. But going forward, like post-uni, I sort of feel like maybe having some consistent monthly income, like just a little bit to just cover making the videos, might be a good idea. It would also probably give me a bit more confidence and like sense of worth over these videos. Something to tell family members, I guess, when they ask, why are you doing that? I don't really get it. It's a bit of a weird hobby. Yeah, so I totally understand if you're eye rolling. I would still make videos with the main channel, obviously, probably as usual, or maybe just one a week or 3 a fortnight. But I know a lot of you, like, if you have bought one of my cookbooks, like, to cover the cost of printing, because I'm not doing it in large batches, it's not a cheap thing, so you've got to be like invested a little bit. So I'm just putting it out there. If I did make it, then maybe I'd set it up after I'd made the cookbook, end of November type of thing. Once again, I will try and get this cookbook ready. Well, I will definitely have it ready to order in time for Christmas, maybe even a bit earlier, because last year if you don't order as soon as I release it, then there are a few like, it didn't arrive over Christmas. Yeah, I think that's everything I had to say. Harvey went to our lovely neighbour, which is the first time he's been there when we've been away. He usually goes to my grandparents, but they're getting on a bit. And my neighbour is like a dog whisperer. She gave him an eye trim, cleaned his eyes, which both things Harvey is very resistant to. And so now he looks like a Groodle. Like, if his face shape was like this, he has like full on, there's no hair around his eyes. He's got optimal vision, which is great because he's going blind a bit. But I think that's everything I have to say for now. Q&A, that's the other thing. I will do a Q&A video, kind of because I just need easiest videos to film during the next couple of weeks when I finish uni. Got another little busy streak ahead of me. I will ask on Instagram as well, but if you have any questions for a Q&A, know that if it's like, what is your 5-year plan, or what are you doing in the future, or what are you doing next year, It's not gonna be like anything amazeballs that I know that I'm doing right now. Like, it's just not the space that I'm in at the moment, so yeah. I hope you're doing well, honey bunches, and yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Bye!